Hey, what's going on, Charger fans? So we know the Chargers got the Patriots in the playoffs, and a lot of y'all was out there saying that y'all wanted the Patriots. Me, I wasn't really too hyped about it, but digging into the numbers, it is a lot that you have to be optimistic about when you're pulling for the Chargers. I think this is going to be a matchup of good on good. Good defense for the Chargers, good offense for the Patriots. I think the Chargers offense can find some things to expose on the Patriots defense, and we'll talk more about that as we dive in. But before we get started about the Chargers, just as a programming note, just want to mention that starting on a bi-weekly basis, we will be having full-length videos on the YouTube channel. So if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and get subscribed to Can't Be Explained on YouTube right now. There will be a link in the comments. As always, go ahead and follow me on TikTok and all of the social medias at Can't Be Explained as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into it. So the last time the Chargers and the Patriots played was back in last season, but it was under a new regime. Drake May was there. Chargers won the game 40-7. I don't think we can really take a lot from it. Yes, Jim Harbaugh was there. Yes, Justin Herbert was there. But from the Chargers standpoint, we had a Rashawn Slater. We had Joe Alt. We had a very well-rounded offensive line, I would say, outside of Bradley Bozeman, as we've all been kind of pissed off about this whole season. But other than that, we had our anchors on the outside, and there were flaws on that offensive team. Like, obviously, we had no receiving weapons. We didn't have a really good run game, but we did have Justin Herbert in a healthy season with just John Harbaugh, or excuse me, Jim Harbaugh, and we had a good defense with Jesse Minter. Now we're returning to New England with the historically worst offensive line, along with um, coming off players resting. I'm not a big fan of that. I know people like, hey, rest the players, but to me, when you're going into the playoffs, you kind of want to be hitting on all cylinders. You had a lot of players out. Now it could do good. Justin Herbert's hand was broke. Derwin James is banged up. Denzel Perryman will be returning, and we have other players sitting out, so that could really help us. But at the same time, I'm kind of shaky about it. I don't know how rusty the players would be coming out, but at the end of the day, it happened, and they just got to be prepared. The thing that I was most excited about when the scheduling came out is the fact that we're going to be in the Sunday night game. And if you've listened to any of my other podcasts, and I've constantly pointed it out, that every single time the Chargers have to fly east and they play that early 1 p.m. game for Eastern time, we lose. We come out flat. We have no energy. It's like the guys are not ready. And it's very reminiscent of how it was with Brandon Staley. Like, you would always have him out there, and then the team just would come out flat and they wouldn't be ready. And everyone would blame that on coaching. But for some reason, when it's a Jim Harbaugh team, no one wants to point to the coaching. So I haven't been afraid to say that all season. And I was just very, very relieved that we did not have to see the Patriots in a 1 p.m. slate. We get the 8 o'clock game. On top of it being at late time, Justin Herbert is 5-0 in primetime games this year. So that's even more that's going to bode well for us. And I think light's going to be bright. Yes, it's in New England. Yes, the crowd will be going crazy. It's a night game, so they're obviously going to be probably drinking all day. But that can help us as well, because Drake May is going to have to perform under those lights. And I don't think he's been on a stage this big yet. Now, I'm not saying he can't do it. I like Drake May, but it's a lot to ask for in your first playoff game. You're the pressure. You have all this pressure on you. You're the 2 seed. You're at home. You're the betting favorite. You're in a primetime game, and you're staring across looking at Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. That's a lot of pressure. And not to mention a Jesse Minter defense that's been going crazy. It's a lot of pressure. We'll see how he handle it, but I think the scheduling people did us a big favor with this, and we'll see. And it's not supposed to be any bad weather, which was another thing that I was really kind of nervous about. So we should be able to take advantages on those things there. But the sad part of this is we don't have a lot of good playoff history against the Patriots. Now, in the last 3 times that we have played them, we've lost. And 2 of those times, it was them being at home. And we haven't been the favorite, except for the first time we lost to them in 2006. But in 2007 and 2019, we were not the favorite. So we weren't expected to win, especially going on the road. And just another cool little note to kind of mention with that 2019 team, Only players left on that team that can kind of get some redemption is Keenan Allen and Derwin James. So they're the last standing Chargers that were there, that went to New England and pretty much took a big L that year. So hopefully they can get some revenge and kind of clear the air on that. So let's dive into some of the numbers here. So some of the things I would like to point out. Let's do Chargers defense on Chargers or Patriots offense. Like I said, it's gonna be good on good. Patriots offense ranks fourth with total yards, averaging about 374 a game, while the Chargers defense is ranked fourth, only allowing 288. So something's got to give. If you even go a little further and you break it down, the Chargers have the sixth best passing defense versus the Patriots have the third best passing offense. And Chargers rush defense is ranked ninth currently, and the Patriots defense is ranked, or excuse me, Patriots offense is ranked 13th. And then scoring is kind of a wash. You got Chargers at seventh, only allowing 20 points, and then the Patriots at fifth, putting up 28 points a game. Where we really get into the trenches of where the Chargers can take a lot of action in and kind of like have an upper hand in is in the red zone. Chargers are ranked fourth in red zone defense and only allowing about 50% touchdowns when you get down in that area. The Patriots offense is only ranked 22nd. They do not score well when they get into tight spaces down there. And I think that's a product of a young quarterback. And I think that's a product of not having all of the amazing weapons that you would want that person to have, or the scheme is not, creative and stuff. And you see a lot of that with the Chargers offense as well. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But I think they score a lot of points on big plays, which is another thing that can really benefit the Chargers because the Chargers don't really give up a lot of big plays. I know in the Texans game, we gave up two huge plays to put us down 14-0, and then ultimately we just couldn't come back. But that was a rarity. We don't do that often. The Chargers defense has been one of the best teams this season of preventing big plays. They like to play that bend, don't break. So because of that, they force you to just be methodical and just dink and dunk and go down the field. And for young players, that can be hard to do. And even if you can do it, once you get in the red zone, things get really, really, really tight down there. And then you're going to have the fourth best defense allowing touchdowns in the red zone versus the 22nd ranked offense of getting touchdowns in the red zone. So that's a matchup right there that the Chargers have to exploit and just kind of force them into those situations. If you can force them into putting up 3 points instead of 7 points, limit Travion Henderson, limit Ramondre Stevenson, and limit Drake May and Stephon Diggs as well. If you can limit them to 3 instead of 7, I think you got a really good shot to win. That means your defense is really playing well and doing what they've been doing all year. And if you can get them in third down situations, the Chargers rank 6th in third down situations. So they're only allowing about 35% of a conversion rate, whereas the Patriots do convert at a high clip, ranked 7th in the league. But where we can really take another piece of advantage is we are 10th in sacks this year, right? Chargers get after the quarterback. Tuli Tuipulotu is having an amazing season. You got Owe, who came over from the Ravens, who is having an amazing season. And, of course, Khalil Mack is still dominating at this age. And then you're getting a lot of pressure up the middle from the run game from Tierra Tart. You're going to have Denzel Perryman back, who is going to be excellent against the run as long as he's on the field. We seen that last week, the last couple games when he wasn't playing, that the Texans kind of got that going. But Denzel Perryman is a true difference maker on that defensive side of the ball when stopping the run, him and Tierra Tart. And then you're going to have Deion Henley, who is very flexible, can kind of guard a Hunter Henry or kind of, cover that middle shallow part of the field. So I think in those areas, we kind of have an advantage. Again, it's the playoffs, though, so a lot of that kind of goes out the window. But it's points with the Chargers defense that they can take advantage of the Patriots offense, and that's all you can really hope for. If you flip it and you go Chargers offense versus the Patriots defense, you're looking at similar numbers. And there's one key number that we'll kind of dive into. So passing wise for the Chargers, 15th, rushing 12th, third. We're ranked third down. We're ranked third in third down conversions. Really, really good on third down, which is surprising with the offensive line, but they're really good on third down. And on the other side of that, the Patriots defense is only ranked 12th in third down, so you could take advantage there. They are ranked highly at 10th and 7th, respectively, in passing and rushing. So that is something that we got to worry about. The two key things, though, that I think really give us an advantage, one more so rather than the other. The Chargers' offensive line is historically bad. We all know it. We're giving up sacks at a historical rate. And Justin Herbert has been hit more than any quarterback in NFL history. He's been sacked more than any quarterback in the league. We all know all of those numbers. But this Patriots team in particular is ranked 23rd in sacks. They've only had 31 sacks this year. So I don't know how much that Patriots defense can take advantage of the Chargers' weaknesses, because that's their weak point. Even when I mentioned that they're only ranked 12th in rushing, you got to realize that Marion Hampton was gone for a lot of those games. We lost Najee Harris at the beginning of the season as well, along with Kamani Vidal missing some time, who, he did great in stepping in for Hampton. But now you're going to have Hampton at full strength. You're going to have Kamani Vidal back at full strength. And even Jared Patterson showed flashes last week. I don't know how likely it is for him to get any touches, but in a pinch, if he's there, I think that 12th ranking in rushing is kind of misleading because we didn't have it there. And then you got to account for Justin Herbert running the ball too. So I think they can take advantage, and kind of that number would be better. But with them not being able to get pressure, if they cannot get pressure on Justin Herbert, if they cannot get to him and get him down, I think they have a good chance. So they have to take advantage of that. The second piece of that is their red zone defense. They are ranked dead last in red zone defense. So pretty much every time somebody gets in the red zone on them, they score. The bad side of that is we're 27th in red zone offense. We're not good in red zone. And I've talked about this repeatedly, and I mentioned this at the top of this podcast, where if you don't have that scheme, if you don't have the kind of pieces or the kind of trickery to kind of get in there when you're in those tight spaces, it's going to be hard to score. And time again, we've seen Greg Roman get down there on a 10-yard line and run a dive right into the center's back. Or you run some kind of outside, and these players are fast. They're moving fast. So if you're not getting pushed, you're not getting someone to really get out on the edge and pulling situations, or you're not getting some kind of drag routes, mesh routes, whatever can come in. You get the natural picks. He doesn't do a lot of that. He does a lot of, run this slant, run this, short out, or kind of let's just dive up the middle. And when you get in those kind of situations, it's very hard to score. But if you can somehow find a way against a really bad red zone defense to punch it in for 7, and on the flip side of that, your defense is really good in the red zone and their offense is shaky at best, you can win the game. You can win the game in a situation where you're coming in as the underdog. You're coming in with the historically bad offensive line. You're coming in with Justin Herbert, who, as much as I love him, is 0-2 in the playoffs. One of those games is pretty bad. The other one I don't really put on him. I put that more on Brandon Staley, but it is what it is. He's still 0-2. So we got to understand that and live in it and accept it. And I think he can come out of this with his first one. But, man, a 7 seed going to the 2 seed, it's a reason why they're the 2 seed. You would hope that some of this momentum kind of slows down. But, hey, at the end of the day, you got to go out there and perform. Well, we can go through all the numbers that we want to, and leading up to other games this season, I've been through the numbers. I've kind of talked about this, like, we should definitely win this. And if you go back and look at our record, if we just take care of the teams that we should have taken care of when we had these kind of number advantages, when we had these kind of situations for us to be in prime position to win, we might be the 1 seed or the 2 seed right now. We might have won the division instead of the Broncos. We lose a Eastern game to the Giants. We go East, and the Giants were horrible. We go East. They're starting a rookie quarterback. It's a 1 p.m. game. I was at that game. They come out flat. They didn't start playing until the third quarter. You can't win in the NFL like that. Even when they played the Dolphins, you fly East, you a 1 p.m. start, come out flat. They ended up winning, but it took so much for Justin Herbert to actually win that game, and he willed them to a win at the end of the game. You can't do that. You lose to the Commanders, although that was in LA. It was weird game. It coming out flat. And I feel like every loss or near loss you can contribute to coming out flat. And it's something that you wouldn't expect to see from a coach like Jim Harbaugh. Usually you would think he's going to have the team ready. He's going to have everybody ready to go. Everybody's going to be amped up. And everything that you're hearing coming out of the practices and the facility this week is like they're ready. They're ready to prove a point. Justin Herbert is ready to prove a point. And I thought they were ready to do that against the Texans a couple weeks ago. Came out flat. And that's just what it boils down to. I don't think this team ever truly just loses. I don't think it's ever a situation where the other team is just better than you. And I think I'll take that back. I'll say one time this season that happened, and that was against the Colts early on when they were rolling. But other than that, every loss and every close loss, or close loss or close win, however you want to phrase it, has come down to slow starts. It's come down to not getting going, and I contribute that to coaching. But also players have a responsibility to be ready, but coaches, you have more of a responsibility to keep your players ready, especially when you know you're having to make this long flight east. And that's the part that I'm kind of nervous about. But again, the numbers are the numbers, and we'll see what we can do with that. One other thing, couple pieces of information I did want to kind of touch on before we wrap it up is the fact that the quarterbacks that the Patriots have played, they have not played any quarterback that is close to the status of Justin Herbert. And that's not me just hyping up Justin Herbert and saying that I love Justin Herbert. It's me speaking facts. Geno Smith, Tua, Aaron Rodgers, Bryce Young, Josh Allen twice, Spencer Rattler, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Michael Penix, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco, Jackson Dart, Lamar, who you also played Snoop Huntley because Lamar left early in that game, and you also played Brady Cook, and your last most recent game was against Quinn Ewers. It's one, maybe two quarterbacks on that list that you're taking over Justin Herbert. And one of those quarterbacks that you played, you lost one of the games to them, which was Josh Allen. And that's a division game. And they could have won both. The second one was Lamar, but again, he left the game early. I don't think any other of these quarterbacks that you would take over Justin Herbert. So I think the defense is already not spectacular, and they haven't played a quarterback like this. On the flip side, yes, these quarterbacks were not great, but they didn't play a lot of great defenses either. I don't think they've seen a defense that has looked like the Chargers defense. The Chargers unit has been a top 5 unit all season, even going back to last year. It's the reason why Jesse Minter name is coming up all over the place to be a head coach. It's a reason why. And he has a great defense. The only thing I worry about with that is I hope that he's more focused on the Chargers and the team that he's actually coaching than the team that he might be coaching. So you got to watch for that. But other than that, I think that's a huge advantage for the Chargers. And the Chargers on the flip side of that have been battle tested. KC wasn't KC this year, and we understand that. But still, to go to KC when they're down, when they know if they lose this game, their playoff hopes are over pretty much. To go in that game and win, to play the Eagles and beat the Eagles. And the Eagles had their up and downs, but to beat the Eagles, that's a big win. To, sweep your division up until last week when you rest your starters, that's a big deal. To play as horrible as you did to start that Texans game, but then fight back and still almost win that game, that's a big deal. You have these comebacks that Justin Herbert has been heroic in against the Broncos, against the Dolphins this year. You have other games where it's just been the defense leading the way, like against the Vikings on Thursday Night Football. You have a lot of different scenarios where the Chargers have played against good defenses and good offenses, and they come out victorious. Whereas on the Patriots side of it, don't think they've done that a lot. They've taken advantage of backup quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, and at the end of the day, I'm not going to take anything away from them. I'm just making the point that I feel like the Chargers are a little bit more prepared for these scenarios, and I did mention at the top of this that Justin Herbert is 5-0 on primetime games this year. So you cannot just kind of scoff at that. That has to mean something. And at the end of the day, it is the playoffs. It can change, but I feel like this team is battle tested. And from what they went through last year against the Texans, you have to believe that that's still on their mind. Justin Herbert even admitted it before the Texans game that it was on his mind. That's a horrible matchup for them. Out of all the teams that the Chargers can play in the playoffs, the Texans is the worst matchup for them because they have two cornerstone edge rushers to get after him, and they have a great back end. It's going to be nearly impossible for us to really sustain drives and really do what we need to do against the Texans to pull that out. Against this team, that's not necessarily what it is. I do worry about the East travel, like I mentioned. I do worry about the crowd. But there's factors and there's things in there that I feel like we can exploit and things that we can actually kind of pull out to win the game. The last thing that I'll mention is Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is great. Not taking anything from him, but he doesn't have the best playoff history. He doesn't have the best success. He's a great coach, and I think he kind of got ran out of Tennessee early, and he shouldn't have got ran out of Tennessee, but it's probably worked out better for him. But at the end of the day, he's had these teams. He's had a Ryan Tannehill led team who, decent quarterback, but overachieved to get the 1 seed. And then there was that one rare 1 seed that loses their first playoff game coming off the bye. Then you have a Derrick Henry, you have a good defense, and you have this team that nobody really believes in or thinks is peaking too early or coming in too early or just kind of ahead of schedule. And then you lose in the playoffs. I know one year he did get to the conference championship, but in that year they were not expected to do that, and they were not. They were kind of overachievers, and I think at some point in time you get to a point where the talent really matters. And this New England team kind of reminds me of that. I mean, Drake May, I think obviously is better than Tannehill, um, or should become better than Tannehill for sure for the longevity of his career. But you don't have a Derrick Henry. You have two good bats, but it's not Derrick Henry. And then you don't have the receiving weapons. You don't have a great defense. You don't have a great offensive line. So it's a lot of similarities between those two teams. And I just wonder if Mike Vrabel's willing them and coaching them and pulling them to the playoffs, to a 2 seed on an easy schedule, and just kind of taking in and changing everything. The Patriots organizations has been down for years at this point, and kind of building it up, and there's so much excitement. But I wonder how he performs in the playoff. How he performs in the playoff. And I think when you look across that field, you have Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh's coaching job for the past 2 years has been great. There are some things that I disagree about, but getting that team to 11 wins this year and getting the team to 11 wins last year, things that we didn't foresee when last year we thought it was going to be a rebuild. This year we thought that rebuild continues, but hey, maybe not. And then you get them to back-to-back 11-win seasons. I think you're going to have your team ready. I think you're going to be able to coach them up in a situation. And especially with in J.C. Mentor, this is probably his last rodeo. So I think we have things to play for. I think we have advantages in this game. I think the coaching is one of the advantages. I think the quarterback, as much as Drake May is great and how much I do appreciate him and like him, I'm taking Herbert in that matchup. I think our receiving weapons are better than theirs. I think the running backs is kind of there. I think their offensive line is obviously better than ours, but I think our defense is better than their defense. So I think we can take advantages of those places, and we're underdogs at the end of the day. It's not a lot of pressure on us. I think the most pressure is probably on Justin Herbert himself, but other than that, nobody's necessarily saying we have to win the game. They're more so saying that they should win the game, that they have to win the game. They're at home, and et cetera, et cetera. Drake May might be the MVP, all these other things. So I think the pressure is kind of off of us. We're traveling. We're underdogs. We're on the road. We're the 7th seed. We can play free. We getting players back. We had players rested last week. So we'll see how it all turns out. But at the end of the day, I think that the Chargers pull it out. And I think it's going to be a race to 24. Whoever gets to 24 points first wins the game. If that's the Patriots, if they get to 24 points first, they probably blow us out. Like, to be honest, is I don't think it's going to be a shootout type of situation. I don't think it's going to be 30 to 24, 28, 24. I think it'll be a low scoring game. And I say 24 because I could see them backdooring 21, and we're needing a field goal to win the game, 21-21, and then scoring a field goal, something like that. But first team to 24 wins the game, in my opinion. And yeah, I'm just optimistic. I think it's going to be us. I want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to let me know what you think, what you guys feel like. I made some good points, I feel like, and I want to see what you say. I've seen people say, kind of contradicting things, but I just want to hear from you guys. So you know what to do. Comment in the section below. This is going to be recorded before the playoff game, so we'll be back right before the game kicks off to kind of give our last analytics about it. Excuse me, analysis about it, and then we'll kind of dive into a couple more things as the weekly injury reports, all of that stuff comes out. But until then, comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in Foxborough on Sunday. Peace.